Hello, Aquarius. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today. I was just finishing up on all of your messages today and doing a little bit of research on a totem that I haven't quite used before, so I think you'll like it today. Just a quick hello, my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. This little furry guy is Apollo. He likes to show up at the beginning to send us some love. I'm going to put him down so that we can focus, and we're going to be looking at energy and information for Sun, rising, moon, Venus for Aquarius. Of course, if you happen to know more parts of your chart, you can absolutely use it for that. And the beginning portion is really for anyone that needs to be coming in here. It doesn't really matter where Aquarius is in your chart, or if you just want a message, you can always show up at the beginning because I tune in to anyone that's going to watch live or on replay. So the way that I organize everything, this is a good point to get to all of that, is in the following way. I like to start with channeled messages, which I have in front of me. The channeled messages come through dreams, meditations. I also use nature totems, and they, just like tarot cards, provide me a lot of information on what your sign needs to focus on. Everything in nature is a symbol too, so I kind of tap into that. So we'll begin with basically that psychic download for you, and then we'll move along to the Celtic Cross, which will give us some more sort of tactical ways to get through the opportunities in the month. I like to let that just sort of be what it wants to be, whether that's focused more on love and relationships or work or some other aspect of your life. I think it's a lot better to just let that breathe. And that's what we do with the Celtic Cross. And then I expand it to hit on some major areas, including health, wealth, love, and destiny. So we still highlight all of those things. After that, we'll do the big idea, which just kind of summarizes it in either a card or a few words, depending on where we're at. And then we'll go into a new section that looks at blessings and blocks, something to really look forward to, and something that you'll definitely want to focus on navigating around, or maybe diffusing or fixing so that it's not blocking you. Usually at this point, I will turn the question to all of you to kind of vote on. I'll put 2 or 3 top questions that you can kind of look at and tell me what you want me to look at. And I might do a reader's choice as well. Then after that, we'll go into a meditation, and I'll pull a final card at the very end. It all flows pretty naturally. And if you've never been here before, just kind of stick around. I think you'll like it. I always put chapters in the video, and then also I'll pin a comment at the top that will put time codes. Give me a few hours. I will not do that right after because I'm here doing the show. So a lot of times 5 minutes after, someone's asking where the time codes are. Take some time. But anyway, I do that so that you can come back later and enjoy it and look at the parts that you need to rewatch. This is done a month in advance. So, basically you're getting your November forecast a little bit early, and it gives you a chance to sort of prepare. All right, with that being said, let's get started here today. My moderator, in case you have any questions, is Maria Margarita. She can help point you in the right direction. She's also going to keep the room a nice safe space for everybody to be. Welcome to our new channel member here. If you'd like to join, I'll give you a way that you can do that. I'm going to be doing a 300,000 subscriber celebration really soon, which is going to be a Q&A video. So members can actually submit questions, and then I'm going to have everybody vote on maybe the top 10 questions that I'll take or whatever. So if you'd like to become a member, you can become a member by clicking on this. You can also give back in the way of a super sticker or super comment. So basically a super chat rather. This is the way to do it. And again, it helps me buy new decks, which I was using one on the weekend, and do more videos. So it's win-win. You can also look at summaries on Instagram, Facebook, and here on the YouTube community tab. So feel free to, if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe. It's a great way to know what's coming through. And if you've already subscribed and you watch every month, just make sure you hit a like here to help the YouTube algorithm. Share this with the people that need to see it. All right, let's get into your nature totems today. Oops. And as we look at your totems, there was something beautiful that came through, and I had to do some research on what it was. And then I remembered from let me just show you the totem first and you'll know it. So for those of you in Europe, you're probably familiar with Edelweiss, right? And many of us are also familiar with it because of the Sound of Music. So I want to talk a little bit about this flower. I'm just going to show some images from Wikipedia here. So what I like about it is it's actually kind of like this big star symbol when you're looking at it. Additionally, it's a really sort of hardy symbol as well. When you look at it really closely, it almost looks like there's snow on top of it, but there's like this fuzzy layer that protects it from UV radiation. It is a perennial. It is endangered in some areas and protected by law. So you don't want to pick this if you actually see it. Just let it be. It's quite lovely. And this is your first symbol today. We'll be looking at Edelweiss, and the second one is the hawk. So it's a nice combination of this hardy symbol and this other one that's kind of airborne. So we have earth and air kind of balancing you out today in your symbols. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Edelweiss first. All right. So again, dual totem today, Edelweiss and the hawk. And with Edelweiss, it's a particularly hardy symbol. It grows mostly in rocky and mountainous regions. And in particular, the Alps and the Carpathian Mountains, and it's protected by law, like I said, in many places, because it was popularized by The Sound of Music, and a lot of people were picking it, and you should not do that. Let's just leave that out in nature, let it be a beautiful flower, and don't mess up the ecosystem. Let's talk a little bit and geek out a little bit about the flower, because this is going to help you understand why it's coming through and how it's going to help you out. Its deep roots protect it from the winds and the droughts that are usually a part of that sort of mountainous region. And its flowers and leaves are woolly. I showed you that close-up where it looks like there's almost like snow on top of it. And that's protecting it from UV radiation, because it's really high. You know, it's at the highest sort of peaks of mountains, and you need to make sure that when you're that high up, that there's a little extra protection. So just like cacti in the desert, they have the spines are basically like modified leaves. So when all those little things are pointing out, it also kind of helps them not have as much solar radiation. There's even some types of cacti that kind of have that fuzzy sort of protection on it. So it's actually what it's for. And I thought that was interesting. So they've evolved to be sort of low to the ground. They have this protective covering on top of them. And then they have deep roots that help keep them in place through the wind storms, through the droughts, and it's very hardy and very beautiful. It's an unusual flower. I believe it was in the daisy family. When I was doing my research, I didn't write that down, but I'll look it up here in just a second. And it symbolizes strength, persistence, grounding, thriving, even when you don't have the resources or you might have some external challenges. So this is I feel like it's very Aquarian to have this particular flower come through for you. And again, it actually, even though it's grounded, it grows in the mountains. So it's kind of in the air. So I feel like this is right in your sort of comfortable space here and right in your toolkit. So the strength card being strong, focusing on your body, persistence, not giving up if someone says no, not giving up if you hit some sort of a block, but you need to do something, trusting in your heart and soul. And then the grounding piece is going to be important as you go through this, not to lose your cool. Because if you are really emotionally attached to an outcome, to something happening, it's so easy to let your heart or your head get kind of like floating off in the sky. So as a fellow air sign, I'm Libra sun. I know it's really important to sometimes ground yourself so that you're not swirling around. And then you can thrive even if, or especially if someone says you can't do it. You're going to find a way. So dig into the stubborn part of your sign, and you're going to be able to use that to your benefit to actually accomplish something that has been sitting there for a while. And that's the next piece here. Put roots down and finish what you started. If you're not going to do it now, when are you going to do it? So basically, this is a push for you to not procrastinate on something that you know that you want to do, know that you need to do, and understand now that you just kind of have to get close to what it is and finish it. So I really, really love the sort of earthy and airy quality of Edelweiss. And I think that brings some important messages with what we just talked about. There are some other things that come through as I meditated on this sign, or on this particular totem, I should say. The other thing is to stand your ground, because it is such has such deep roots and strong roots. You have what it takes to overcome any challenge or adversary that might come into your way. So if somebody there is in your life kind of coming through, and it could just be the universe testing you. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you ready to do this? And you're going to reply, yes, I can do this. Yes, I'm ready. And you're going to find a way to work around this block. A gatekeeper, sometimes it could be like an assistant or a person that just doesn't feel like somebody else will say yes, but if you get to the other person, they'll say yes. So getting past gatekeepers, getting past artificial boundaries, getting past our own thoughts in our heads where it's sort of like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm ready. So pulling down those barriers. All of those are important. The other thing is, because it has that protective coating on it, those little kind of fuzzy hairs on top of it, there is a protection energy with this particular totem. Protect yourself. For those of you that are entering into a questionable sort of contract or something new, starting a new business, you're not sure about something, get the legal or financial advice that you need. Go to someone who has acumen or expertise in that area. If you're not insured in some area as well, make sure that you get that insurance, not just health insurance, but we're also talking about maybe life insurance, or maybe looking at, malpractice sort of insurance, all that stuff where you can protect yourself against litigious people. Protect your intellectual property through getting proper patents, copyrights, and other legal guarantees to make sure that everything's okay. So if you do that, you'll be fine. And if you've been putting that off, that's something to look at. You don't have to do all of that. Obviously, you're going to look at the category that makes the most sense for you. Just making sure that you're covered, I think, is important. Okay. The root of the word in German, the first part is it's edel, and that's noble. And the second part just is describing the white color of the flowers, and like noble white flower is basically what that is. And then in French and Italian, it's known as the star of the Alps. So you could kind of take the two pieces, the German piece, which is nobility, and then the Italian and the French sort of names for it, which are about stars. So there's like this noble star energy that's coming through for you. I think the noble part is a reminder to take charge, because we think of nobility, you think of like an emperor, empress, and this for some of you just means that you're going to take the initiative, you're going to take accountability, own something, you're going to stand up for yourself, you're going to push back if you need to, basically find your power. It's also a reminder that even if you feel like that's not your role, you're always connected to a divine energy. Like that's like the ultimate nobility, that we're all connected to the same divine source. And it has nothing to do with your surname, your title at work, the job that you do, the family that you were associated with, how much money you make. That stuff is actually a whole bunch of nonsense. It helps in life in certain areas, but it doesn't have anything to do with how noble you are as a soul, how much power or strength you have as a human being. It's window dressing, okay? So sometimes we focus on that because it's right in front of us, but this is about going a little bit deeper. The star-like flower, which I showed you just a moment ago, technically those are bracts, I believe, which basically are modified leaves. And then at the very center are the actual flowers. Let me just pull it up again since I'm talking about it. But the star-like flower is a reminder to all of you that you have that star quality here. So this is a smaller version of it. So the little tiny yellow things, that's actually the flower. The puffy white things on the outside, they're modified leaves, kind of like what you would see in a magnolia. The magnolia have these sort of bracts that come out around the exterior, and then the little flowers at the center. So here's another picture of that. But it is a star when you look at it. I can see why in French and Italian they call it like the Star of the Alps. I think it's a beautiful name. All right, so the star-like quality is juxtaposed against something that's really short and small to the ground. And it's reminding you that anything, a gesture in your life, a smile, something that means a lot, but maybe isn't like a big splash and everybody knows about it, that doesn't make it any less powerful. So sometimes small things can make a big impact in someone's day or light them up, light their day up. So like a smile, helping open the door for someone who has a bunch of groceries, just checking in and truly asking how someone is without it being a birthday, anniversary, or needing something. These sorts of things can actually help your star power, help you shine more. And it's because it's coming from the heart and it's coming from an authentic place. So recognition or having to tell everybody that you're doing something doesn't make it better. It's just the sort of energy, the authenticity in your heart. Did you mean it? Did it help them? Was it a good exchange? That's what matters. Obviously, embrace the star energy and allow yourself to be comfortable enough to relax a little bit, and relax to the point that you kind of don't really care what people say or think. You obviously want things to go well, but at some point there's always going to be a critic. There's always going to be, you'll always sometimes make a mistake, and you put yourself out there and think, I'm doing the best that I can, and that's enough for me. I can go to sleep each night knowing that today was a good day, that was the best that I could do. And that's kind of how I try to gauge everything. You can't control all the little tiny things, but suffice it to say that whether your star is shining really big or it's kind of smaller, you're shining right now. And there's sort of this opportunity for you to just own that. One last thing, the ease piece of this that I was talking about is important, because have you ever noticed that those who are they're a natural at certain things, because it's not that they don't care, it's that they're not so invested that their nerves are getting in the way of them doing what they know that they can do. So intuition works in such a way that you just kind of let it flow through you, and it's okay, and everything works out. And when you can get into that flow, everything's going to be all right. But sometimes when we let ego, fear, pride, jealousy sort of get in the way, ambition, this can fog the lens a little bit. So just pull back a little bit, be comfortable, and think, if it's going to work out, it's going to work out. And I trust that it will. That's going to let the universe come through a lot faster. Again, that inner ease is also a very attractive force for others. So don't let anyone mute your power, your shine, and don't mute it yourself because you're afraid of being seen. I feel like it or not, you're kind of going to have that spotlight shining on you this month. So try to use it to the best, the maximum, and do something great with it. All right, let's move on to the second totem that came through today. It was the hawk. Hawks represent messages from afar. The question here this month that the spirit was kind of posing to you is, are you open to receiving those messages? Are you staying awake, staying aware? Sometimes we just close off and you think, nobody's going to hire me for this, or I'm not going to get asked out on a date, or I'm not going to be able to get this loan, or whatever it is you're trying to do. You just think it's not going to happen. So you've closed it off, but there might be external signs and opportunities around you. So stay open, because to me, the hawk is representative of good news coming in, like a page of swords, for instance. So be open to receive. Otherwise, the satellite's pointed in the wrong direction and the message isn't going to be received. Get out of the daily grind or the day-to-day sort of the thicket of things. Get out and see a big picture or a bird's eye view. Obviously, with the bird, we're going to go there with the metaphor, and it makes sense. So what that means, for you, is that sometimes we worry so much about like the 9-to-5 daily work, or if you're stay-at-home dad or mom, you're really focused on taking care of everyone else in the family. And then you get lost in that equation because it's either all about supporting others, all about achieving something, all about service, all about recognition or something. But where are you in the mix? So I want you to kind of like go up and look at things from a higher view, which you can do, Aquarius. All the air signs can do this. So just give yourself a moment to get out of your head a little bit, to get out of this situation and think. It's kind of here at the end here, but I'm going to pull them up now. But kind of like, what's bringing you joy? What's inspiring you? You want to shift your focus towards this. And change happens like one step at a time. It's not like you just do it and everything's okay. It's sort of like this ripple effect that happens. And I used the metaphor a few readings ago about the Titanic, like when they were trying to change direction. It wasn't quite fast enough, and it also took a long time for the ship to move with it. So in your own life, there will be similar situations where you've made the change, but you're waiting for this big Titanic energy around you to kind of shift with you. So you have to keep moving and trust that it's going to be okay. Because if you waste time, you're too worried about other people there on the periphery, and it's not going to matter in the long term. Because for you, you're not carrying this big cargo load. It's just you, and you just have to understand that the energy takes a while to shift sometimes to follow you. But it will work. You have to have faith in the vision and in the sort of like purpose of where you're headed. To that end, keep your ideas, words, and your actions elevated. Obviously, a hawk flies pretty high. All of your energy today is either in the mountains or in the air, which makes a lot of sense. Lead by example. That sometimes means you're going to be out in the forefront doing something that isn't necessarily popular or understood. Sometimes I'll mention like folks that are in fashion. They'll create something that looks ridiculous, we think, on a runway, but then a couple years later, a modified version of it is on every hanger in every closet. So you have to sometimes take a risk and be bolder, or put something out there in a way that it might receive some criticism. But if it's being talked about, what you're doing is creating a reaction, then you're actually doing something, which is good. So just keep editing and moving and perfecting that over time, right? Very rarely do we kind of go out there perfect with the first draft or iteration. Hawks are very intelligent birds, and this is really an encouragement for you to lean into your IQ, into your thinking capability, into your, Libras are known for their diplomacy, but you have great communication skills too. You have the ability to talk and investigate and think around things, especially depending on what the rest of your chart might be, I think you'll be able to kind of like use your speaking skills this month to your advantage. Okay. The main thing here is to innovate and try new things. So something may have worked before, but it may not work now. And the true sort of leader in you and the true sort of flexible energy that you have will allow you to say, all right, let's just try something else. Let's see how it goes. The worst that happens is I revert to the old method, right? All of that's important. Hawks are hunters, and they're representing a very active energy. To me, they would be like knights in the suits. So something that's going out there and using that sort of noble energy that we talked about with Edelweiss. Same sort of thing here. Act and do the best that you can. And really, this isn't the time to be passive and wait for something to happen. There are times where that makes sense, but it does feel like it's time to push through. We're in a shadow of retrograde right now if you're watching live, but it's okay. We're almost through it. And by the time you get into November, when most of you are going to be watching this, you'll be fine. So this is the time to pick up stuff that you've been delaying and really start to see some action happening on that. Okay. Now, apex predators are the top of the food chain. Hawks are not. They can actually be hunted by other birds. I think owls was one of the different birds that would hunt them. But anyway, there's competition. They are good at what they do and they are smart. So they don't have to be the best, like the strongest, the biggest, but they can use their IQ. And so we have a hardy symbol in the way of Edelweiss, an adaptable symbol as well, because it's learned how to protect itself from UV radiation. It's sort of lower to the ground. Neither of these are the biggest or the best out there, but what they are is the strongest and the smartest. And then that ultimately in the long run does give you longevity, and you can be the best because you're going to win the long race. So the big important message with these two symbols is, if someone else is in it for immediate gain right now, short-term gain, you are going to have this sort of lovely arc, sort of character arc, if you would, in a book, where you're headed in a really great direction. It's not all being seen right now because you haven't grown to your full potential. So I want you to have your faith and your vision and know that, all right, this is where I'm at. That's where I want to be. I feel the progress. Just because mom, dad, sister, teacher, brother, whatever, is in a different place in their life doesn't mean that my particular path isn't going to completely happen to fruition. It just means that we're all at different parts of the journey. All right. Some of you have already accomplished what you needed, and now there's a new path and you're starting something new. I think the fun thing about this lifetime anyway is that each lifetime that we're incarnated in is that we constantly, or reincarnated in, is that we have this ability to finish one thing and then start again. We keep kind of rebooting. So there's no limit to how much our program can improve. We're not like a computer where it's limited by memory and certain components. This is organic. This can keep pushing through, and we're not even using all of it. That's the crazy thing. So as we keep showing up for all of these readings, as we keep pushing ourselves, we keep exploring more and more and discovering more and more. So going back, we're talking about icebergs too. So it's kind of like the hidden metaphor this month, but what you're at this month is like the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much more that I'm picking up on energetically. So trust in your capacity to see the true depths of your potential. Okay. Happiness and health are the most valuable things, I think. Fulfillment and just general well-being, more so than material gain. So I had this weird vision of you kind of being approached by someone and they were showing off. It's like I saw them going into an expensive store, buying all of the name brand things off the racks and trying to kind of like woo you with flashy things, shiny things. There's nothing wrong with something flashy here or there, but it looked like there was frustration because you knew that there was something that they were trying to cover up. And that's really what clothes and all that stuff does, is it covers us up. So I want you to kind of go dig deeper, and look at things. Not everything that glitters is gold. And so look and make sure that you've got the real McCoy, that you're really seeing the true gold, not the fool's gold, right? And so this could be a person in your life. This could be a job. This could be someone. It felt like it was someone that you knew that was resurfacing. And so you already know what you're dealing with, but it's sort of like the judgment card, believing it, trusting it, and then moving on. So I think that there's one final door that you're probably going to close or walk away from or walk through this month. That'll be an old chapter in your life that you just think enough is enough. And it takes a little bit of time with that because there is an attachment to it of nostalgia, of maybe unfinished business, etc. So if you are happening to watch this at the very end of October and you're in the final sort of shadow of retrograde, it's a perfect time to finish that. I'm also going to be doing a special reading this upcoming Sunday for some of you that might have people that have passed into spirit, whether it's a parent, a loved one, a sibling. This is also a good time around October 31st, November 1st to work with that sort of thin veil of energy. So join me on the weekend if you want to kind of put to rest something with an old loved one, someone, again, that has passed away, is in the spiritual realm. But you can always do that. You can just talk out loud. You can kind of like just have that conversation. But if it helps a little bit to have some facilitation, join me on the weekend. We'll be doing something special for the upcoming collective. Finally, the two cards that I showed you just a couple moments ago, it's kind of how I wanted to end this part of it, which is what brings you the most joy and what inspires you the most. This is how you can start to figure out if you're in alignment with soul path and just general fulfillment. You don't need me to tell you what your path is. You already know your path, but sometimes we overthink it. So the way I'll kind of help you trigger your memory, or your sort of like what you had when you were a little girl or a little boy, is to remember what it was that you thought, like, I want to do this when I grow up, or I could do this, or this is fun. Get back into that playful energy of what if I did this, or what if I explored that. Shift your thought process toward that, and remember that it takes just one step each and every day, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. And you can make a big shift a titanic shift in your sort of direction. And I did that in my own career. And I started doing it in 2013, but I didn't quit my job until 2015. I had my awakening back in like 2009, but it took a few years for me to get comfortable with who I was, figure out like what I wanted to do, and then figure out when I wanted to do it. And then, we're all works in progress as we're moving through this, but you can do it mid-career like I was doing it. You don't have to do it at the beginning. And if you're after, like, a post-career, if you're looking at like a second sort of path, it's never too late. I always like to remind people that age doesn't really matter as long as you have the sort of desire, and that inner energy is going to kind of come through if you really feel it. Okay. So I've stacked up all of these cards, and a reminder again that if you want to read a recap later, I'll probably have it up by tomorrow on social media. And let me post a quick little link just so that you have it. This is to my official website, and this is also my social media links. Just a quick note here too. If anybody ever direct messages you or offers you product or service or asks for money through chat on social media, it's not real. That is just somebody that's trying to impersonate me. So I will never contact you directly. I don't send friend requests and stuff like that. Just worth mentioning. And I'm also not doing private readings for new clients at all right now. So any offer of a reading or thing like that is false. And I just want to put that out there. We're going to get into the cards now. If you like what you see, please hit the thumbs up. And let's get into this. All right. So good to see everybody. How are you doing today? I hope that your morning or evening is getting off to a good start. And I'm happy that you joined today. Again, if you happen to join a little bit late, this is usable for Sun, Rising, Moon, Venus, any aspect of your chart really that you happen to know. You can also watch on behalf of others in your life. 6 to 8 weeks is what this normally lasts for. Perfectly attuned right now to where we're at because we're looking at November, and it's about a week or two before, so perfect timing. So I see people asking questions when this is available. The minute I stop the recording, it's available. So it's always available immediately when I stop. If you ever happen to join late or miss it, don't worry about it. It's always right there on replay. and you can watch it as many times as you want. And like I said, in a few hours, I'll put all of the time codes in there so that you can rewatch the sections that you want to watch as well. All right, let's take a look at everything here and tune into the messages here. So your catalyst card, which is helping you connect to your purpose, helping you get out of the way of yourself. We have an emperor type energy here. It's the Lord, which is basically, again, like an emperor or the head of something. Take charge with authority. Clearly the message here is that. Now the card is reversed. So for some of you, there could be a little bit of doubt in your life. Do I have what it takes? Am I young enough, old enough, experienced enough, whatever? Usually not young enough. It would normally be sort of like old enough or experienced enough. So I would say one of the things for you is to trust in your knowledge and trust in your overall vision and voice, because the best leaders aren't really questioning all of those things. They just have a great idea. And a lot of times, particularly like with tech companies, you know, the CEOs can be young, and it doesn't make the product any less relevant or useful. So age has nothing to do with it, how young or how old you are. It's more about the quality of the idea and how much you want to own it. The big question here for some of you is, have you tended to sometimes gift your ideas or give your ideas away? Or do you sometimes help others so much that you're not giving yourself a chance to sort of like grow a little bit? So if that's the case, you want to really focus on getting some ownership over some of that. Intellectual property was a big part of the initial channel messages. So just making sure that you take some sort of a share, some sort of a part in that journey, I think is key too. Don't sell yourself short, because the crossing card, we'll get to the central card in a second, is the Five of Pentacles. We actually have the Queen card here, the Empress. So that was the Emperor. Now we have the Empress at the center. So you have this quality and this ability, but sometimes you're only very, evenly breaking even here, or I should say barely breaking even. Sometimes you're afraid to ask for what it is that you deserve because you're afraid of maybe a potential no or pushback or that coming off the wrong way. So know this: if you're doing a great job, and if you're doing a great job too, because people are just wanting to really tap into your time and energy, so much so that you're exhausted. And if you get really good feedback and if people enjoy working with you, this is the time then to approach the powers that be and say, I love being here. I'm a great part of this team. I want to continue to grow on this, but I need to get a little bit more. I need to know where you stand. Do you feel the same commitment that I do? What a powerful way that is to ask for a raise versus, where's my money? We talked about it last year. So don't do that. Instead, start it with something that's legitimate. Say, I hope it's clear that I love what I'm doing. I hope that it's also clear that I work well with others and that I put out a good sort of product or service. And I'm committed and I want to be here. But I'm curious. I'm getting mixed signals from you. It doesn't seem like in a long time I've gotten any sort of reciprocity on that. So where do you stand? How committed are you to my development and my happiness? I want to know this as a worker because I want to know how hard to work. So that's how I would negotiate with somebody that was falling short of that. It's a very gentle warning and it's not an ultimatum. So that's one way that you can do it. Now in a partnership, for those of you that might be married or maybe your kids have moved away and it's sort of just the two of you and you're looking at this, doesn't matter what state of life you're in, there could be this feeling of, do you still see me? Where do I sit in the equation? This is a feeling of sometimes being deserted despite doing the lion's share of the work. So in partnerships overall, and we'll go into this when I look at love a little bit later, the main thing is equity, reciprocity, and making sure that you or the other person is feeling completely seen and heard. And we all have moments where it just feels like someone's not there when we need them, okay? The cool thing with the Five of Pentacles is that there is support, there is help. There's always some sort of a sanctified space behind the person, whether it's a church, a mosque, etc., temple. The question is, why aren't they willing to kind of go in? So you have people that could help you in certain areas where you're blocked. So reach out to them. And those were the expertise sort of centers that I was talking about, whether it was legal advice or, financial advice, or maybe even talking to a psychologist or psychiatrist. Finding that expert to help you through the block is key. All right. I do think that initially, when it comes to money, it's going to change because I see a progression to the Six of Pentacles. But initially, when it comes to money, I'm seeing not as much as you should have, or resources or exchange. Now, I mentioned earlier that material wealth is not the most important thing. So if you've just decided to quit your job and start something new, this actually makes a lot of sense because it's break-even time. The good news for those of you that are starting a new venture is I do see the Six of Pentacles, which is a balancing out card. And so I think ultimately you're going to get to that space that you're looking for. So sometimes we have to pull from our resources, reinvest, have faith, do the hard work, and then you start to see things moving. That could take some time though. Could be 6 weeks, could be 6 months. There's a little period of growth there. The card isn't telling me the exact amount, but it is showing me that it will grow and it will move from there. I think you're going to be able to travel through. If you remember how very, very easily, I guess, well adapted the Edelweiss was to moving through a drought, right? It grows and it's thriving even when there's not enough. And that was one of the messages that I said earlier, is with that spirit totem, you can push through. So I feel like you can push through things. All right. When it comes to physical health, I really want you to pay attention to where you're walking. This is a wintertime card, and we're in the northern hemisphere. We're starting to go into that. So especially East Coast of US, I'm sure some parts of Europe, particularly Scandinavian regions as well. You're going through some months where it's starting to get into winter soon. And so you want to be mindful of where you're walking because you can slip and fall, like black ice or something like that. And the other thing with this is just old issues in your hips, knees, ankles, all the sort of lower extremities. This is a time when you want to take care of that. So make sure that you are taking care of everything that's sort of attached to the legs. That's the part of the body that the Five of Pentacles can be associated with, okay? Next piece, when we look in deep past, feels like there are moments when things are very, very good, and then there are other moments where it's a little harder to deal with it. I like the Nine of Cups. When it's upright, those low points are not as punctuated. When it's like this, it's zigzagged. So I think right now, many of you you're trying to find the positive. So that's what the good piece of the Nine of Cups is about. But for some of you, it can sometimes be sort of I've done all of this, and all of a sudden you get the wind knocked out of you because of something that you read in email, or something that comes in the mail, or a phone message, or a text. So don't let one piece of news or information completely take the sail down. You're still going to find something to keep that momentum going. So don't get deflated. Focus on everything that brought you to the Nine of Cups. And if one spills, you still have 8 cups. So don't freak out. And that's it's more of a Five of Cups message there, but the same thing comes through, which is it'll be all right. It's one thing, and you take it one little earthquake at a time, right? You can't let everything sort of take the wind out of you. That's the thing that they keep telling me. So for some of you, the fact that they keep showing me sails or wind tells me that it's important for you to breathe. Take a deep breath and make sure that we do that as a form of self-soothing, by the way. If you've ever noticed, if you've given someone news that they don't like, they'll do that, or sometimes you'll do that too. So that little tell that we have, which is this is more than I can handle right now, is also a natural soothing technique. So you can just breathe your way through something. If you're really stressed out and you got something that you didn't want to see, just do that rather than kind of hitting your head, screaming out loud. I mean, that's good because it's getting energy out too, but try not to hurt yourself. Just breathe a few times and figure out what to do next, okay? Ultimately, this shows me that there might be some really good news, but there might be a couple of little things that try to take you off that perspective, so don't let them. All right. Let's look now at your recent past, and we have success, which is good. It does feel like you've done well. You're poised to get into that star position. So the Edelweiss symbol, which is a star of the Alps, makes sense here. We're not seeing the other people there yet. This is very up close and personal, Six of Wands. And what I like about the Six of Wands then is it's telling me that You'll be your most powerful when you're doing what feels right to you and you trust that it will find the audience or the support that it eventually deserves, but you're not doing it for the express purpose of being popular or being accepted. And that's going to be key to just general happiness and success. If certain musicians, they'll just do one hit after another hit after another hit. But when you try to think of like what stood out in their catalog, it's a little bit harder sometimes because it's all kind of the same. There are other musicians that take radical risks and reinvent themselves each album, from the persona to the soundscape. And that's an example of like Inner Six of Wands. They're kind of like the wind that goes behind the sails. They're not the ship that's following the overall trend. So back to that sort of ship metaphor. I don't know why it's coming through so much, but that's it. You need to be the air in your lungs and around you that's kind of moving things forward. So you breathe life into something, not vice versa. Okay. Success is there. It's in your energy this month. It's going to be a good month. So I'm finding that this is already here for those of you that are watching live, and next month when you're looking at it November, you have the energy of success in your foundation. So keep doing what you're doing. It seems to be good. Okay. Now we have Six of Pentacles reversed in the crowning position. One of the most important things I should say for you to focus on right now is the power of discernment and saying no when necessary, and also the power of choosing what exactly you want to put your energy into. This is the bare minimum card for absolute success. And this is kind of different here. We see all these sort of little insects kind of trying to get the resources here, which look like breadcrumbs or cookies or something. So in real life, people around us are trying to get finite energy, which is our own. We have to decide, if I do this, then I can't do this. What's more important? And with the Six of Pentacles, you can kind of spread yourself a little more thin than the Two of Pentacles. So I would say pick 2 or 3 things that you really want to focus on this month and make those happen. Really see them through, and then say no if you're trying to get overextended, if people are trying to ask for more than you can give, because you need to keep your own resources and own reserve sort of strong so that you can have enough to get through everything. So it's energy, it's time, it's love. Just make sure that you're giving a little bit back to yourself. You're keeping a little bit for a rainy day. That if you do that, I feel like you're going to get through this month fabulously. Okay. Next piece, Five of Wands, upright, near future. There's some work to get done. There's a little bit of competition. We talked about that earlier. It would be better if you could try to lead the charge rather than trying to sort of compete with someone else head on, or do your own thing and then see if some people get kind of like into your own energy. This like competing or pushing and trying to sort of like, it's like everyone trying to raise their hand at the same time. Do you remember back in school, sometimes people go, ooh, me, choose me. It's sort of like that kind of energy sometimes with the Five of Wands. And the way that you're going to stand out is because you don't need to be seen. Sometimes the teacher will pick on the one that isn't doing that. So if you're a little bit calm, if you're a little bit collected, and if you trust and believe in yourself, let all those people overexert themselves. You're going to pace your energy. So pace yourself, work hard, but don't sort of like burn out. That's the key thing with this. I think you'll be all right. Figure out how to get inspired, because the one thing that Five of Wands lacks sometimes is that feeling of, can't wait to finish this. I can't wait to share this. I can't wait to do what I'm doing. So for those of you that are retired, the Five of Wands can be an old activity that doesn't bring you joy. Let's say you're volunteering or teaching or doing something like that, and you're just thinking, this isn't it. And for those of you that have a day-to-day job, same thing. You've maybe outgrown the sort of glow of wherever it was that you were working at and thinking like, this is just not connecting with me anymore. So go back into what I said at the end and think about what brings you joy and what gets you inspired at any point in your life, whether you're a student, whether you're mid-career, whether you're retired. That's going to help you find your life purpose. Okay. There's more than work. That's the other thing that I would say with this. There's more to you than your job. And I think for those of us that have lost a job, retired, or started our own business, you know that when you no longer have a big company or a title attached to you, you're whatever you want to be. And it's freeing. It can be a little scary too, but you know, if people ask me what I do now, I could just say I'm an entrepreneur, and that would be the truth. I do my own thing. And that's cool. But there's no title. I make them up if I want to for myself. Like we're our boss and we're our own sort of, so that's kind of how your soul is. That's kind of how the divine is. Whatever you want to do and whatever you want to call yourself, that's what you are. So don't get so stuck in it. And if you don't like what you're being called title wise or what you're doing, then it's time to shift that focus. We have the page of cups here in your goal and your ego this month. And this is a very receptive energy. So some of you are very sensitive and very, sometimes so much so that it could be a little off-putting. You might be really feeling the both joy and stress of your family or your environment. So you want to take a half step back and take care of yourself. This can also represent incoming love, good new partnerships. People are looking at you and thinking, this is someone with whom I'd like to spend more time, that I'd like to get to know a little bit better. So you definitely have an inviting and a magnetic energy. So that's the Edelweiss symbol coming through again. And it doesn't have to be the biggest or brightest star. There's something about you, though, that is bringing people to you. And they're like, I don't care. This is it. So don't compare yourself. It doesn't matter. Your star is shining really brightly right now. So go with that. Inspiration, creativity, and also kind of just, for some of you, you are more open to maybe seeing things that other people can't, because that emotional IQ is coming through with this card as well. So trust your heart this month. Close your eyes and feel with your heart and see where that takes you. Intuitive awakenings and increased sensitivity could come in the form of feeling things, not always like seeing it, hearing it, or knowing it. It could just be this inner feeling. Like you could read a person when you meet them the first time. You could also kind of like really just be drawn to do something without hearing the word in your head. It's just like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to buy. That's where I need to go. This is what I need to study. I want you to trust that inner compass, the high priestess, she's coming through and saying, yeah, I'm helping you right now. This is in the environment. So you may also meet someone who you feel can kind of see right through you. They can see to the core of things, and you're probably right there. This could be a divine partnership here, because we have the Page of Cups and we have the High Priestess. So deep soul connection, really spiritual kind of energy. You're attracting that because you've done some of the work on yourself. So trust in that. Because this is in your environment, you also have the capacity to mold and navigate through these sort of situations. The High Priestess, when she's upright, it's sort of like the beneficial aspects of this, which is some of the diplomacy that I was talking about. Also the ability to just sort of turn the energy of a room in a certain way. When she's reversed, she's manipulative. When she's upright, she's creative and diplomatic. So she has that ability to see how things will work and say the right thing at the right time. Okay. So I trust in yourself. You're being led into the right decisions and the right words and the right actions. Okay. The next piece here, when we're looking at your opportunities, this is why the Six of Pentacles came in. And I also like that we got it in general. It's 10 of Pentacles. So you're in a really good trajectory, but the 10 of Pentacles is reversed. So for many of you, friends, family, community, and work, any one of those or a combination of the above mentioned, could be pulling at you. More of this, more of that. We're tapping on your shoulder or calling you or emailing you. So the good news, this is the sort of star energy, again, back to Edelweiss. It's coming through and saying, all right, we want more of you, but you're going to say this much now, this much later, or just no, full stop. So know how and where to kind of balance out your resources. And then I actually see you in a really good trajectory. Let's look at those three cards. We'll go more into work in a second, but we started by that sort of less than enough, the Five of Pentacles, breaking even, sometimes a little bit meek or afraid of asking for what you need, standing up a little bit more, at least saying no, because no is a good way to get more resources with what you already have. Eventually understanding your power and your reach and realizing you can ask for more, you can say no, you can really start to lead if you're ready to do that. 10 of Pentacles can also indicate marriage. It can also indicate a new job or a new contract being signed, and it's good. I really like what's kind of preceding it here, because we have the Page of Cups, we have the High Priestess, then we have the 10 of Cups. And the final card, the Ace of Swords, shows the execution or the signature on that contract. So I feel like this is a good month to get something done, to take action, to cut through old blocks, because we see the sword right over top of this almost like spider web of knotted rope here. So I could just imagine this slicing through the old stuff. And I think that's going to be key for you, is just realizing that you can finally get something done. Cutting the red tape, cutting through all of that sort of stuff. This is going to be a good month. This is the active energy that we got with the hawk. And the hawk wants you to sort of take ownership, take action, and move. All right. So I'm feeling really good about this. The only thing with this particular Ace of Swords, this lovely illustration actually shows it well, is that you don't want to get caught up in other people's cobwebs, whether it's what's up in their head and they're limiting you, whether it's kind of the fogginess in their life, because we actually have this fogged in card here in Destiny, which we'll talk about in a moment. You want to cut through those external things and make sure that you see and feel and hear things the way that they need to sort of like be done, and just follow through on that. All right. Overall, I really like your energy this month, and I really like what I'm seeing. We're going to move now into the expanded forecast. I'm going to get a little water. I forgot to do that while I was setting up, so I'm going to talk to you while I'm doing it. The expanded forecast includes health, wealth, love, and destiny. And as a part of this expanded forecast, each one of these particular symbols is multi-part. When we're going to look here at health, it's going to include mind, body, and spirit. And a lot of times for me, this has started to kind of represent more of an internal compass shift in our own minds. So let's take a look at that card and see what's coming through. And let me take my drink of water here first. All right, thank you. So health card, mind, body, and spirit. We have divine drunkenness, which is a unique card. I don't think I've ever received this one in this deck. Surrender yourself to your spiritual reverie. What's cool about this card, it was reversed, but for any of you that have truly been in the flow of something creative or spiritual, it is almost like you get a spiritual high. Many of you may have felt this. I think everyone's felt it working out. Let's say you were swimming, running, jogging, or whatever. You felt that sort of high where sometimes you even get dizzy and you have to sit down. If you've meditated and really worked at the sort of craft of meditation, you can get to the point where you sort of just feel like you're, above the planet, and it's a high. There's these spiritual highs, and if you're an artist too, it's the flow. It's like, oh my God, you look at the clock and 10 hours have gone by or something because you created all this work. So you have the capacity to get into that spiritual flow. You want to take care of yourself during that, because drunkenness can also be showing that you sort of are losing yourself a little bit. So I would say, just like Edelweiss puts in those roots, you want to do something to maybe set an alarm at a certain point to make sure that you take a walk, that you drink, that you eat, ground yourself. But I see a spiritual flow of energy coming through, and you just need to manage your headspace and your physical self so that you're not getting overwhelmed. Okay. So you might be doing so much or get so lost in something this month that you just sort of feel like this card, which is out of body, but we have to stay in body a little bit too, because we're spiritual beings, but we're in a material world, like the old Sting song. That's what was in my head for a second. So yes, we're in a material world. So we have to find a way to work in this body. So nurture and honor your body too. Let's look at some other messages with respect to health. I already talked about the importance of the lower extremities. So again, joint issues, healing anything. Maybe some of you are getting knee, hip, or ankle surgery. Just take care of yourself if you're doing that. And also take care when you're walking as well, if it's icy or if you're just kind of being clumsy. That's how I got a small fracture. So it can happen to the best of us. So don't worry about it. Just take care of yourself and get the PT and rest up if you need it. I do see a successful outcome as you kind of move through any of these challenges. So we have the Six of Wands. One of the things that I'm looking at here too, for some of you, is balance issues, because there's multiple balance cards. This one's a little better than the Two of Pentacles. So I think for some of you, if you kind of go too far in something, this could end up kind of, the balance issues could be you making sort of a misstep, or If you're tired, for those of you that work really long days and you drive late at night, it could be like falling asleep at the wheel. Don't want to do that. And for some of you, it could also be like falling asleep in class because you're working at night. So I'm seeing like the lack of balance, and sleepiness is what's coming through. It's not in the cards. It's a psychic download that I'm getting. I just want you to watch your how much you're sleeping and how that affects tasks during the day. Let's see if there's anything else that comes through for me. The Ten of Pentacles reverse can also be not a typical card reading, but what I'm getting from this one is the peer pressure, like from family and family or coworkers, to do something. Maybe again, the eating or the drinking habits of that group lead you towards something that you're trying to get away from. Maybe too much sugar, too much alcohol, or something like that. So moderation is going to be key. All right. The good news is you didn't really get any cards here that were harsh or difficult. So I feel like you can navigate it. The drunkenness piece, again, is about not going to extremes, and you had a balance card at the top. So moderation is your friend. Okay. Let's look at wealth. Wealth is career and life purpose. For those of you that are retired, it's, can also be wealth management. So we have that you should be able to get through this in a good place. We have effortless. And we're looking at the waterfall here, and it's really about moving in a way that you just feel like this is where it needs to go. A waterfall doesn't have to think, it just sort of like flows, right? So things should kind of just go where they need to go. If you're forcing something and you're not seeing a return on energetic investment, this one is telling you that you can't swim up the waterfall. Even fish that can kind of go upstream, I don't think they can go up a waterfall. Like, not much can, if you look at like Niagara Falls, for instance, you can't swim up. There are certain things where we get such pushback that it's clear. And when I'm looking at this, that's what I'm seeing, is that there are certain areas where you've done everything you can. And then it's almost a little bit of surrender there. And then you can look for another path, a better path, rather than constantly getting all of this sort of energy being thrown at you. So if you have nonstop pushbacks, like incontrovertible, unavoidable, in your face pushback, then it's time to move on. Even the strongest of us sometimes has to sort of find a different path. For the rest of you, hopefully it is effortless. Hopefully you've done the work and you can just go with the flow, okay? Because this one can cut either way. The other thing, and we already talked about the trajectory here, was about finding your purpose and your confidence, and finding that balance and saying no where you need to, renegotiating a contract if you need to as well. And getting out of this sort of feeling like it's just a job, or this is just another day, or is it Friday yet? I looked back, it was several years ago. This was probably like 2000, well, maybe it's 2006. It was a long time ago. I remember I was just in a job that I didn't like. And it was like when social media first started, and I think the account's no longer, like, it was probably one of the defunct ones like MySpace or something. But I remember I always used to post like, why isn't it Friday, or something like that. Years later, I think, what a sad thing to do, like, especially if it's Wednesday or Monday. You can't wish the week away. If you're wishing time to 6 o'clock, like closing time, or to the end of the week, or to your next vacation, that's really telling that you want to not do that. Life is precious, and you don't want to wait till retirement to enjoy stuff. Enjoy it now, okay? It should feel effortless. There should be a sense of joy. There should be days where it's not all work. There should be a little bit of fun. If not, it's too much. You're working too much. You're working too hard. Okay. Enough with that. Let's look at love. We have Pegasus here and transcending. Love Pegasus and love this sort of energy here. This is about rising above. So let's take a look at what Pegasus wants us to look at in relationships. So let's start with those of you that are in a relationship. Again, we pretty much got the Emperor and the Empress. Even though this is called Lord, it's the same. The interesting thing is you come through with this sort of nurturing Empress energy at the center, and this external energy around you kind of comes through as either helicoptering in, like a parent or a boss, or someone who won't allow you to kind of step in and be yourself. So this is really about your sort of like internal energy opening up like that flower and saying, no, I'm the star too, I can do this. So find your strength, find your voice. I think it's really important in relationships this month. And the big thing, you could either be concerned about money, maybe about health. The other piece is just not getting the attention that you want. When we look at the potential outcome cards, near future and future, they're okay. I'm seeing that you'd have to do some work. And then I see that communication can be the key to cutting through some of that. So as long as there's proper communication, it feels pretty good. I don't think your partner will be surprised if you talk to them about something. They already have an inkling. So for those of you just feel like there's a lot going on and you feel kind of like alone, just talk to them. They already know. They'll say, yeah, I was waiting for you to talk to me about it. Or they might not be surprised. They'll say, well, now it all makes sense why you've been kind of like unhappy or whatever. Overall, all of the energy around you seems like you can sort it out. And if it is a resource thing, it's just going to be a little give and take. And I feel like you can work through it. But feeling like you're seen, feeling like there's equal give and take, and that it isn't just all work, that there is a little bit of fun, I think that's going to be key. Rekindling the passion is going to be important, but overall, I feel like you can push through the major challenges that you have. Pegasus is about transcending. It's not standing still and it's not looking back. Transcending means rising above and moving through and changing it. Now, for those of you looking for love this month, your personal health takes priority. Some of you need to either look at your financial well-being or your physical well-being and get that where it needs to be. Take care of you first. Yes, love can and may be incoming. The sort of love that I'm seeing is serious. The question is, are both of you kind of in the same mental space? Because the Ten of Pentacles is somebody that wants to get married. So it's either you or the other partner is very keen on that. And the important thing is that you have a little bit of time to get to know each other. And it's really important to talk to that other person, ask questions. So before you put the ring on someone's finger or, start to move in and all of that, just get to know the person, talk to them a little bit. I think that's key. Work could get in the way of all of this, though, because we have the work card and then also showing that you're you're kind of getting burned out a little bit. So make sure some of you are just taking time for you. Personal health, emotional health, and financial health could be a block for new relationships. Possibly a water sign coming in for those of you that are looking for love, which is good. All right. By the way, some of you already see it or feel it coming because we have the environment card with the High Priestess. You might be manifesting that partner. So this is just validation. It could take up to a month for that to happen with the Ace card, but good stuff. All right, let's move on to those of you that might be single and happy or not looking for love or divorced and just, again, not the main focus. I don't see a lot of other people coming in and trying to invade your space. There could be someone that's interested in just kind of becoming a friend here, though. You have this very inviting energy. And I feel like if you go into a social sphere, everyone's going to want to talk your ear off. So you definitely have the capacity to, when you get out there, connect. And for those of you that are entrepreneurial, like in a business, this is going to bode very well because you'll be able to meet some new contacts, like shop an idea to people. So I actually think it makes a lot of sense if you're an independent business person. But for the rest of you, nothing bad to say. And I would say the main thing that I see for you opportunity-wise is a chance to network, to kind of build your network. You definitely still have attractive energy. All right. Let's focus now on the final card, which is your outcome. And we have fogged in, go slow, take time. The final card that I had written for you, handwritten, was basically that you shift your focus in a new direction, the things that were bringing you joy and passion and inspiration, and it's one step at a time. And this is saying take time. It's very much on that same metaphor. And we have the ship here, just like I was kind of talking about. When you're navigating a ship, it doesn't turn on a dime. It takes a little bit of time for it to catch up. So give yourself the time that you need to move towards the direction that you need. This is also very reminiscent of the Six of Swords. So letting go, moving on, also takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Okay. Let's move into the next portion. We're going to do one quick card first, looking at the big idea, and then we're going to go into blessings and blocks. All right, I'm just going to pull a card for the big idea to see what the guides want us to focus on, and then we'll go into the next portion. We got the Six of Swords. So just validation on what I was talking about. So the big idea this month is about movement. For many of you, it's also about that gentle release or that gentle stepping into something. So when you're in the Six of Swords moment, you're most powerful if you focus on where you're headed. if you're looking over your shoulder, you're not really steering, you're not really rowing that boat. You're kind of like stuck in a moment. So I want you to set your sights on the horizon, and each row, each step, each moment of this journey is bringing you just a little bit closer, just a little bit, I would say, nearer to that journey. And then the other big idea or message that I'm seeing when I'm looking at this is balance with the Six of Pentacles, because it's in the headspace, and open communication about what it is you want or don't want. So if you achieve that balance and if you keep moving, you're going to start to see some really good progress. Okay. So the next piece that I want to look at is blessings and block. Blessings and blocks. All right. So for the blessing this month, let's focus on something that's going to bring a lot of joy, a lot of positive movement, etc. See where that's going. All right. So the blessing this month is the Eight of Pentacles. And this is a really curious Eight of Pentacles. I love this card normally. So the card is reversed, but let's pull it upright. So, I mentioned earlier about trying to get out of the daily grind, the thicket, the weeds, if you will, of things. And what we can see here is this person, they're almost getting like, it's like she's dealing with the thorny pentacles there. So she's kind of getting a rash or getting, cuts. And sometimes if we solely focus on all of the little details, all of the work, and we work and we work and we kind of get mired down in that, we forget, like the hawk, to kind of get a bird's eye view of what's going on. The Eight of Pentacles is a very good card. This tells me that you will get a return on your investment, particularly when that investment is in yourself, time, energy, training, personal growth. It's a great card for those of you that want to rewrite, edit, or create something like a curriculum. It's basically you finishing something and really getting it to that polished final state that we would see in the Three of Pentacles. So I think you're doing a great job, but I think for some of you, the mixed blessing of this is that you don't always see an immediate return on that. So love what you're doing and love how it's going to be received. Easier for those of you that maybe, that maybe what you like to do is kind of like build things. So if you build a house or if you're renovating a house just to sell it, you could just imagine how cool it's going to be for the family to be in there. But as you're working with contractors, as you're kind of knee deep in sawdust and everything, sometimes it's a little hard to kind of push through. So just like construction isn't always all glorious, but afterwards it feels amazing. That's kind of what I'm getting as a metaphor for the Eight of Pentacles this month is when you're knee deep in all of the construction materials, you can't always see what it's going to be, or you forget why you're doing it. So look at the blueprints, look at it from a distance, get out of the sort of dusty, whatever room you're working on, and see the bigger picture. But a lot of times this is preparing for a test, finishing, rewriting something, editing something, learning something new, creating something that will be enjoyed by others, like, again, a book, a curriculum. But this is the writing and the revising and the building stage, and the learning and the apprenticeship stage. So don't lose path of why you're doing it. In the background, we see all of these lovely birds flying. She's kind of stuck here and she's missing the bird's eye view. Okay. So it's a hidden blessing. You're doing a great job and it's going to definitely take you far, but you're perhaps getting mired down in everything that's right in front of you. Okay. Let's look at the potential block. So some of you have a family member, teacher, or friend who they're almost too truthful. We have the King of Swords in reverse. And so with the King of Swords in reverse, sometimes when we get that criticism, because you're also very sensitive this month and receptive, people may not be thinking through the way that they deliver feedback. So you could receive some harsh or overly critical feedback without a constructive element. Someone just says, you missed the mark, I don't like it. But they don't tell you how to fix it, and you're just left with that sort of bitter taste. So what you want to do, if somebody criticizes your work, you could say, I always value your opinion. What would be really helpful is to tell me what you'd like to see more of. I have some thoughts on this, but I'd like to see where you're at, because it would be more helpful if you actually say what you didn't like rather than just give a knee-jerk reaction. And just give it back to them that way. And it can be kind of direct, not sort of saucy or anything. Just mean it when you say it. Say, thanks, I do appreciate the feedback, but I do need something more specific, or it's not going to be helpful for me. In fact, it just deflates things. So tell me what you need, what you're looking for, and I'll see if it makes sense and see if I have some questions or insights. So That's always a better way to push back against vague and negative feedback. If someone just says, I hate you or I hate that, there's always going to be one. There's always going to be one. So don't worry about it. For you, it's also saying don't be afraid to be direct. But in the same vein, what we just talked about holds true, which is constructive criticism, direct but kind. There's a way to kind of do that and dance the dance in a way that's not going to be so harsh for the other person. All right, let's do a quick poll so that you can vote on some things that you might like me to look at, and then we'll go into the next portion of the reading. So let's do a viewer's choice poll. Let me just grab my keyboard. It's a little easier to type on. All right, so viewer's choice. And as I'm looking at some of the cards here in front of me, I'd love to look at balancing resources. I think that's one thing that could benefit everyone. So balancing resources. You can vote in a second. Let me just type everything first. The other thing that I'm looking at here is to get that bird's eye view because of the Eight of Pentacles. So getting perspective, we'll just call it. And then the third option, as I'm looking at all of this, I kind of want to look a little bit at the relationship stuff here. So I'm going to see how to transcend. We'll use what the card said. Transcend a relationship. I'll just put woes because I can't. We'll just put how to transcend relationships because I don't have, they limit my words on this one. So there we go. I'm going to send the poll out to all of you, and then I'm going to pull a wild card while you're voting on that. And the wild card will just be something that we haven't looked at already. Something that we need to focus on in the soul. All right, soul path wild card as you're voting is the 10 of Cups. So here's the cool thing. For those of you that have been waiting, wanting, or wondering when or if things will get a little bit better with relationships, we do have the 10 of Cups here showing that I see some good things on the horizon for you. And the 10 of Cups is great. Close family, chosen family for some of you, marriage, or just a really deep relationship here. So the wild card is there is love, there is support, and I see someone or something new kind of coming in to help facilitate that. So that looks really good. All right, so let's take a look at what's winning right now and how it's kind of spread. I think we've got a pretty clear winner here with how to transcend relationships or deal with any sort of doubts that might be coming through in a relationship. It was pretty close today, but let's just see which one wins. All right, and yeah, we have it's pretty close, but we have 37% with how to transcend relationships. So for those of you that are having some difficulty in relationships, then I think that we just want to kind of look at what you can do to kind of get to that 10 of Cups moment, okay? And I also saw someone asking about all my Oracle decks. I don't list all of those. I have way too many. So my tarot decks are listed on my website. All right, let's focus now on, I may later list them, but right now, too many and not enough time. All right, so on to the next thing here. So we're looking at how to transcend relationships. Okay. Don't go there. Like if there is an argument, so the 10 of Swords, everybody's favorite card, right? The 10 of Swords often comes up when, and it's reversed here, so it's avoidable. There could be someone in your life that just says that extra thing. This could be a partner, you know, that you're living with or working with, someone really close to you that just knows how to push your buttons. They've had a bad day, they've snapped a little bit, and they're going to say something that's trying to elicit a response, or they just want to offload all that energy. Take a deep breath. Remember what we talked about earlier. Don't immediately say what you want to say. Restate it, and also check in with them and say, wait a second. Just say, that was hurtful and probably out of line. Where are you coming from and why are you there? Just say, because if I say what I'm going to say, it won't be good. So I want to understand if you truly meant that or if you're just having a bad day. Like, diffuse it, but be strong in the moment too. And sometimes it takes that sort of standing up for yourself to get that person out of it and just say, are you okay? Because that was way out of left field and it was hurtful. And I think we need to probably just even come back. Let's talk in a couple hours. So let's pick up again tomorrow. I want to talk to you, but not like this. Even that can cause an argument as I'm saying it, but you'll have to navigate away. Try not to say something just to elicit a response or just to meet fire with fire. So you're going to have to work at diffusing things. So for transcending stuff, it's using words in a healing way or in an inspirational way rather than just saying something. So let me just pull one more clarification for the 10 of swords on that and see if there's anything else that we can look at to help with that, and then we'll move on. Controlling yourself. And also, sometimes people overreact or have that sort of knee-jerk reaction when you start to regain control. They act out because they're afraid of you being powerful, right? So don't be afraid of your power. Don't let your emotions reign supreme. Remember here, we have a really beautiful card here. So I feel like you've got a lot to celebrate and a lot of other things to focus on. Focus on the people and the opportunities around you that bring in this 10 of cups, this love, this support. And a lot of times when we're revealed with the other 10 here, you've got almost all the 10s except wands. Then the 10 of swords is there to show you, don't focus on this, focus on that. We could ostensibly put the two of these together and say that you have something bigger and better to focus on than this. All right? I think that makes a lot of sense when you look at it in that perspective. Okay. Take a moment and think about something that I haven't answered, and scribble it down or type it into your mobile device. And then after we meditate, I'll answer that question. I just want you to have it nearby so you don't forget about it. This morning when I was going to write about Edelweiss, I couldn't remember it for a second. I'm like, wait, what is it? And I had to, sometimes it's in your head, but it leaves you. And I had to think about it for like 10 minutes before I remembered what it was called and where I could find it. All right, so before we get into the meditation, I only like to do this a couple times in the video, but it is important. Hit the thumbs up if you get a chance. We're nearly at half. If we can get to the halfway mark, that's pretty good for engagement. So please hit that thumbs up. It does help. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I'll be doing, like I said, a couple of really cool videos at the end of this month, and I'm going to do something probably shortly thereafter with the Q&A. Again, you can follow me on social media if you missed anything or if you want reminders of what's going on. You can check my pinned comment for that. And if you did happen to give back in super stickers or super chat, like Jonelle did there, I will say thank you at the very end. So you have plenty of time to do that before and after the meditation. Let's get set up in the meditation. As I'm looking at all the cards in front of me, I'm looking at the movement energy, particularly that we got this Six of Swords. I think it might be cool to imagine that you are ready to set sail. I don't think we've ever done this, at least not recently. May have done it a year ago, but let's imagine that you are, and let's kind of combine two here. Let's imagine that you're at the Three of Wands pier, which is basically where you see the ships coming toward you. And let's imagine that you're going to meet them halfway, or they've already come and now you're going to take what you got from that Three of Wands exchange. Maybe they brought you good news or good service, or you now have met someone and you have assistance. Let's imagine now that you're on the next leg of the journey. So see yourself on the pier. Let's close our eyes. The meditation will take about 2 minutes, and I'll be using an instrument. Actually, I'll give you a chance to vote on this while I'm kind of setting the stage here. So let me know if you want me to use the singing bowl or the pyramid. Then we'll get into the meditation. So pyramid or singing bowl. And if you don't know what the pyramid looks like, it's this. It's a crystal pyramid. And then the singing bowl you've probably seen. So it's just a glass singing bowl. All right, so while you're kind of getting set up here, it'll be a surprise for those of you. I'll wait until I get ready to sit up, and I'll just pick the instrument that wins. All right, so close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Imagine yourself at the horizon, at that pier that you've, again, just exchanged what you need to exchange, getting new goods, getting new services, and you're set up for success here. So as you close your eyes, I want you to imagine that there's a beautiful ship in front of you. And the ship, as I'm looking at it, seems to be sort of like, I'm looking at the sails, I'm looking at how it's painted. It looks like it's a golden ship. I don't know if it's gold leafed or painted in gold, but it's shining in the sun. And as you step foot onto this, you feel this sense of power and nobility, which we had talked about earlier when we were looking at Edelweiss. In fact, there's a little sprig of Edelweiss on your lapel, and you can start to feel this energy of the sun, of your own sort of inner star starting to shine through your heart space. And the sails are waiting, the ship is waiting. We talked earlier about not following in the sort of wind or following in the path of someone else. So as you start to breathe, each exhale that you take and each exhale that you make is allowing you to start to push the sail forward. So throughout this meditation, as I play the singing bowl, I want you to focus on seeing the destination, allowing your breath to move you towards the destination, and feeling the sense of empowerment as you do this. What is it that awaits you on the other shore? Is it love? Is it a sense of freedom? Is it a new opportunity? See whatever that might be and start to anticipate how great it's going to be to get to the other side. And just keep breathing and trusting now that your navigation is going to bring you in that direction. All right? Take a deep breath and allow this final breath to bring you to your new shore, ending this part of this journey. As you allow your ship to anchor and you step foot on to the new horizon, I want you to feel that this next stage is going to be effortless, easier, that the hardest part is behind you. And that just like that flower totem that we had at the beginning of the reading, the Edelweiss, you have the sturdiness, the survival techniques to get through any sort of challenges. But just set into your intentions and set into motion the idea that it's going to get easier now. You're ready for that. You deserve that. That's your divine right. And gently open your eyes. Come back. Welcome back. And if you need to, just to kind of like get back into your headspace, get back into your body, you can take your hands and rub them together at your heart space, putting your left hand on your heart and your right hand on top of that. And then when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes if you haven't already and put your hands in your lap. Okay. For those of you that want to hear the pyramid, by the way, you can check out my weekend reading, and I'll give you a chance every week to vote. So it's up to you. I like both of them equally. It was nice to hear the pyramid. It was nice to hear the bowl after a while because I've been using the pyramid for months. So no complaints by me. All right, I want you to get that piece of paper that you wrote your sort of question on, or your phone, or wherever you tapped it into, and remind yourself of what it is that you want me to look at. Your final question. We'll look at the final card. Just think it. You don't need to write it. And we'll see what the message is. All right, we have the Queen of Wands, which would be a yes. She's one of the most powerful cards that I could get. Has the same energy as the Magician on some levels because she can make things work. And we actually see the volcano in the background, so I believe this is connected with Pele. So this is creation and destruction. So if you've been through something difficult, you're wondering, can I come back? Can I do this? Can I push to this new level? She's coming through and saying, yes, you're going to rise above it like the phoenix rising from the ashes. She's also very able to take something less and make it more. So although I love Queen of Pentacles because it's almost like a surefire hit, with the Queen of Wands, she's very impressive and can think her way through something, which goes back to a lot of what we were talking about in the channel messages. The one thing that you'd like to, I think you could really lean into this month is your ability to lead. Queen of Wands is a built-in boss card. And sometimes the only challenge with this is taking advice or taking direction, and that could be a little challenging for you. So for some of you, it might be better if you can find ways where you don't have to do that, because it feels like she really wants to do her own thing. So overall, I like the energy. There's not a lot to be cautionary about that, except what I just talked about. Hard time listening sometimes with court cards, especially the Queen or King of Wands, but she is upright. So I feel pretty good about it. There may need to be something that you decide to let go of or transform in order to get to where you're at. So a little bit of sacrifice, a little bit of loss to get to the next level, but it should be worth it, okay? And if you have experienced any sort of loss, she's here to say it's going to be all right. You'll find a way around this, all right? But it's a yes, and it's a very good, auspicious card, pretty positive overall. Okay, let's wrap up everything for today. Let me give you a link to the upcoming readings. So I'll be doing Pisces on Thursday the 28th at 9 a.m. I'll have a Halloween collective on the 31st, which is a Sunday. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I always look forward to that. And I'll also be announcing sometime this week when I'm going to do the Q&A to celebrate the last channel milestone. So more to come on that. I have to decide what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it. It's a good time to subscribe if you haven't, just so you don't miss that, because it's something that I'll probably put on the stories and on the community tab. And then of course you can always set a reminder. Later today, I'll make sure that I get the placeholder for Halloween, so you can set a reminder for that as well. All right, let me just take a moment here to say thanks to everyone. One last note, my book is coming up on 1 year old right now. So on the 31st was when I released it. So if you like fantasy science fiction like Dune or Lord of the Rings, longer, kind of deeper level stuff, not a quick read, you can check that out. Otherwise, just thanks for being present here. All right, so I want to take a moment to say thanks and welcome. I'll welcome the new channel members, and I'll say thanks to anybody that was kind enough to give back a little bit today. Again, that goes into buying the supplies, especially the instruments, which tend to be a little more costly. So thank you to everybody that helps out. And even if you can't, that like and that subscribe does help more than you know. So thank you either way. All right, give me a second here. Let me just put my glasses on, and I'm going to welcome new members and then go into thanking those who gave some supers. So I know that we just got a member that's been giving back and participating for a while. So thank you to AKA Mom Wise or Akamom Wise. Always good to see you. Let's see. It looks like we also got some people that rejoined here. San, Maki, Gigi's Wagon Wheels, and MJ. Also Megan, Annette, and Moon Rain, and Karish, and Suzanne Shaney. Some of these joined yesterday, but there were a few that it's kind of hard to see here when I'm looking at it. So we've got a lot of new members. Welcome to all of you. And now let's take a quick look at all of you that gave some supers today. I appreciate that as well. All right, so let's see here, Aquarius. We should be able to get through this because there weren't too many. So we started off with KK. Thank you so much. Sylvia Maria, Shona, Patricia, Mary Jo, Sheena, Yvette, again, aka Mom Wise, Georgianne, and then I think it's either Boji or Boogie. Either way, thank you. And Jonelle. So nice to see all of you today, and I appreciate your help and your support. And right here at the end, we have, it looks like Yugen 8. So thank you. All right, everybody. Really fantastic reading. Lots of movement, lots of change available to your sign this month. So good luck in making those shifts and finding your power and shining bright like the star that you are. All right. Until we meet again, hopefully for some of you on Thursday, if you have Pisces placement, or again on my weekend, collective reading on Sunday. I just hope you have the best week ahead, the best month ahead, and I thank you all for joining me. Thanks again to Maria Margarita for her help with moderating today. Much appreciation. I see we got a couple people here at the end that gave as well. So T. Bruce, let's see, Heart and Soul, and Stella Morris. Thank all of you for those last minute contributions. I appreciate it. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Again, thank you so much, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.